Hi, I'm Russ, and welcome to Scrolling with Charlie. Charles is going to be with us in just a few moments. He's doing something. This is Season 1, Episode 9. Um, I'm Charles' co-host, Russ Clarity. Normally I don't open this, Charles does, so we'll go down and do roll call. We'll start from the left, and I believe on the left of me is Bill. Bill, you want to introduce yourself and say hi? You have to unmute yourself, Bill.
I'm the last one down. You're the first one there.
Yeah, I was just talking to Carrie, and he just jumped on. So, my name is Bill Heitman. Nickname is Sawdust.
All right, he's muted himself again, so we'll go to Glenn. Glenn, can you hear me? If you can hear me, unmute yourself and introduce yourself. All right, we'll move on down the line. That one's not working. We're going to John. John Cousins is next.
Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Glenn.
Yeah, Glenn is actually Terry Lee, by the way.
Is it Terry Lee? Well,
Terry.
His name that shows up is Glenn. So
yeah.
You want to take over then?
Who already introduced himself?
Well, Terry and Bill. So next we're doing John Cousins.
Carrie already introduced himself?
Who?
Terry Lee.
We
Glenn?
can't hear. We can't. Glenn, we can't hear him. I tried twice.
I had just muted him because of the background noise. But Glenn, Carrie, if you want to try again, unmute yourself and try to introduce yourself. Move your cursor to the very top of your window and click on the microphone. That will unmute you. And I apologize for being late. I was multitasking, which I'm not good at. Okay, Glenn, while you try to figure that out, I will move on to the next guy. No offense. I don't know who did you say already invited? This is a heck of a start, isn't it, folks? Who did you say already introduced themselves besides Carrie? You're muted, Russ.
Bill and Carrie are the only two so far.
Okay, so that was... Okay, John Cousins, I'm sorry for the delay. Love this live stuff. I'll go ahead and tell everybody about you, where they can find you, and all that.
Hello, my name's John Cousins. I'm from Grand Prairie, Alberta. I got a site called What If I Could Scroll Saw. What else do you want to know?
How they can, if you have a YouTube channel. Okay, Carrie, yeah, we can hear you.
Well, I can see you guys talking, but I can't hear a thing, so I'm still working on getting in.
10-4. I'm just going to mute you long enough because okay, I understand. I just have to mute you because of the background noise. There you go. Thank you. YouTube channel and any other social media where people can find you if they want to locate you is the basic rundown of the roll call, John.
Basically, just on Facebook under my name, John P.A. Cousins, or on my Facebook website, What If I Could Scroll Saw.
10-4. His last name is spelled C-O-S-E-N-S. All right, thank you, John. If you don't mind muting yourself, I'll move on to the next feller. We have old Santa, John Schaffner, a loyal joiner.
I be John Schaffner. I'm from Canastota, New York. I've been scrolling for a ton of years. The only thing I have is my Facebook under my name. That's about it.
Alright, you want to spell your last name for everybody in case they are looking to stalk you?
Just the way it sounds. Schaffner.
That is that's two F's in Schaffner. Okay, now we have the dark and mysterious lead knight and Tell everybody about you, where they can find you.
Yeah, one of these nights I'll get the camera right. I apologize
No
about that. My website is actually www.scrollsaw.yolasite.com. You guys can see it. It's down underneath my picture here. I've been scrolling for about 14, 15 years now. I'm a pattern designer as well, and I run a couple of groups on Facebook. So if you guys look there, you can find me there as well.
Alrighty, thank you very much, sir. I'm trying to work on everybody's audio. Carrie, whenever you're, yeah, sorry.
I can hear you. I just re-signed up and now I can hear you.
Okay, I understand. I just have to. Okay, go ahead. Since we skipped over you, then I'll get to you. Okay, not Mark. Mark's audio is messing up. Carrie, go ahead and introduce yourself after you unmute yourself and let everybody know about you and where they can find you.
Okay, the name's Terry Lee, live in Phoenix, Arizona. Been about 14 years and learned most of my tricks and techniques from Rick Hutchison.
Alrighty, thank you very much. I'm going through and adjusting everybody's volume, so bear with my crud.
How about now?
Okay, I think we're good. Okay, Mark Sherman, tell everybody about you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Very well.
Yeah, I'm good to go. I just installed the Google stuff, so I guess it took my computer a little bit long to catch up with it. I'm Mark Sherman. I've been scrolling for quite a few years now. I just found out last week that I'm going to be newly unemployed next Friday, so hopefully I have a little bit more time to do some more scroll sawing, so you know, as well as find a new job. So I didn't catch the big question. So what are we supposed to do? Talk about here?
We haven't gotten to the topics yet, so you're saying.
Lovely, lovely.
We can call the fact that you get to keep scrolling, we can call that a blessing in disguise, but I'm sorry for your...
No, it's fine. I think I saw the writing on the wall for a long time, so it's a contractor thing. It wasn't personal, so I'm happy. Things will go okay.
Alrighty, thank you, sir. Next we're going to move over to our friendliest friend, Mark Stallings. I'm always going to go there. Anyway, don't forget to unmute yourself. Tell everybody all about you.
Name is Mark Stallings. You can find me on Facebook under Mark Stallings. You can find me my page, Spiritual Splinters Woodshop on Facebook. Been scrolling for a few months now, and picking on Charlie about his lawn.
Amen on that, but I love all y'all guys. Anyway, Mr. Rick Hutchison, you got a lot of clout out there, so just tell everybody where they can find you.
Rick Hutchison. I'm on Facebook under Rick Hutchison, YouTube under Rick Hutchison, and website for scrollsaws.com.
10-4, I appreciate it. Mr. Russell Clarity, if you don't mind telling people all about your pretty face, and, well, no, let's skip that part, but just tell them how they can find you.
I'm Russ Clarity, Simply Wooden Creations. I've been scrolling for over 30 years. You can find me on Facebook under Simply Wooden Creations, on YouTube, Simply Wooden Creations, and I have a website, www.simplywoodencreations.com. And I'm down here in Central Florida, where the weather has been wacky for the last few weeks. We went from running the heater the other night because it was real cold to running the AC today because it got real hot.
I was ready today.
Yeah, it's been a little screwy here in Texas lately too, wet and cold for most of it, but it's finally bearable. I am Charles Deering, whether you like it or not, otherwise known as Charlie. Anyway, I'm in Gatesville, Texas, which is about halfway between Dallas and Austin, and just about 2 hours either way if you give a crap. On YouTube, I am Charles Deering Scroll. On Facebook, I am the Charles Deering, and I have a pattern selling page and a finished piece selling page, and just search my name to find those. And I apologize for the bumpy start. I just things out of my control happened that made the show start kind of unorganized. No offense to anyone. I hope everybody has their audio issues fixed, and here we go. First topic will be, this may sound kind of generic, but everybody has their different ways, but I'll go ahead and start a little differently from normal. I'll start with Russ, and then I'll go last. On stack cutting, what method do you use, and do you stack cut very often?
I don't stack cut that often. If I need to do production work like Christmas ornaments or have a big order where I'm using 1/4-inch stock, whether it be plywood or hardwood, then yeah, I'll put 3/4 together to make up 3/4 of an inch in stack cut. For me, I found the best way. I purchased a pen nailer several years ago, and it shoots. I can get 5/8 inch pen nails. A pen nail is very, very thin. I mean, it's almost like a wire. So I go through the areas that are not going to be cut out or where the blade might hit it, and pen nail it, and then I can flip it over and check for if the pen nails come through. If the pen nails have came through, like for instance, if I'm doing a 1/2 inch and they've come through, I take a pair of side cutters and I'll cut them off, and then I can use the my orbital sander to sand the back of it. They're so thin that the orbital sander will take them off in a heartbeat. It won't hurt at all to do that. I've tried taping them together. I personally hate the clear packing tape. If you put it on the bottom, and maybe it'll help for blade lubrication, but I had so many problems and issues with the packing tape over the top of the pattern, and using it for lubrication, let alone using it to stack cut, that I kind of like threw that stuff out the door. I don't use it. I found the pen nailer to work very, very well. I've not had any problems using it, and that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you. Okay, to let the viewers know, we have 13 of those. Having you, if you do not know how to ask questions, look up in the, I'm going to do it backwards here, look over in this area on the viewing window. You'll see what looks like the side of a Rubik's Cube. Click on that and that will open up the Q&A section. Not on my screen, on yours. But anyway, Rick Hutchison.
I take part of the blame on the intro. I got to learn how to do an intro in case something ever happens to you.
Yeah, I just got to be more prepared sooner before the show. I just things that I wasn't expecting came up. Hey, okay, Mr. Rick Hutchison, do you stack cut, and if so, how many do you stack, and is there a certain way you stack cut them or hold them together?
I do stack cutting, 1/4-inch Baltic birch. I'll do 2 layers. 1/8 inch Baltic birch, I'll usually do 5 layers. And I use a number 3 finishing nail. I've got a steel plate. I just hammer the nail through the stack until it bends, and that pins it over on the bottom so the bottom layer doesn't fall off. And then I use the nail sticking out the top as little steering wheels to turn the project. So that's the way I stack cut.
Thank you, sir. I do the same thing with, well, I'm going to go ahead and go. I said I'd go last, but since I'm discussing your topic, I use brad nails, but they go long, so I can use them as steering, but if they do happen to go all the way through because of the force of the brad nailer, I will just use a pair of pliers and break off the ends that came all the way through the wood, and then just hammer those to make sure they don't scratch the desktop. And you see how pristine the desktop on my Hegner is, but yeah, just to avoid that. But in the interest of continuing on, Mark Stallings, do you stack cut? If so, how many, and how do you hold them together?
Well, I've only done a little bit of stack cutting. I did some crosses for our youth group at church on some 1/8 inch stock, and I stack cutted 5 of them together and just used tape on it. You know, even though Russ don't like it, you know, it worked good for me, but not everybody can afford one of them fancy pen nailers, you know.
I love it. Yeah. Okay, thank you, sir. What?
I also stack cut pancakes.
Okay, yeah, those are easy to stack cut. Appreciate that. And I meant to mention that the thickness of what I use is 3/16, or between 3/16 and 11/64. So I generally don't do more than about 2 at a time, and unless I think they might sell, I think I stack cut that one 3 at a time. But I will get to why that can be a bad thing as soon as I get done going through everybody. Mark Sherman, don't forget to unmute yourself. And if I can remember what I was asking everybody, do you stack cut? If so, what method do you hold together and how thick and all that stuff?
I do stack cut when I'm making ornaments. If I'm cutting 1/4-inch wood, I cut with our stack 3. If I'm doing the 1/8-inch multi-burst, probably about 5 or so, no more than 5. I used to use a nail, kind of like what Rick was talking about, but I've yet to find a scrap piece of metal that I can use as an anvil right now. So, but lately I've been using the wider painter's tape, the thick end. So that usually holds it up pretty good. Have no problems there. And then yeah, that's about it.
Alrighty, thank you, sir. Moving on over to Mr. Lee Nyden, easy for you to say. Tell everybody if you stack cut, if so, how you hold them together, and how many you can get away with stacking without something messing up. And don't forget to unmute yourself. And I think just as you went to talk, your camera went dark. There you go. Go ahead.
I don't know about not messing up because that happens occasionally still, but I basically use tape. Heard of using nails? I haven't ever tried it, but I have heard of that method. I just haven't got around to it. But usually when I'm cutting Christmas ornaments, I'll stack cut. I have done a couple of times where I've cut portraits, just because I want to have more in stock. I've stack cut those too. But I always use tape, just regular packing tape.
Already. The reason why I chose brad nails over taping is because you get more fuzzies in the middle if you're only taping around the edges. I found, at least the fact of using spirals, so I can get as close to the areas being kept as possible in the waste areas with the brads, and that keeps the whole stack uniformly held down versus just the edges. Mr. John Schaffner, do you stack cut? If so, how much and how so?
I do some stack cutting, not a whole lot, but how I have done it is if I'm using 1/8-inch or 1/4-inch, I'll run brad nails through the corners, and then when I go to apply the pattern, I'll have it so that the head of the nail is on the bottom, so I don't have to clip out the tips or anything like that. If they stick out too far, I'll trim them off. But other than that, I've used the painter's tape. I've used the double-sided sticky tape. That I'll use, but the pattern isn't too intricate because that does have a tendency to break the pieces apart when you go to pull it apart. So, but yeah. Brad's usually.
Alrighty, thank you, sir. Mr. John Cousins, do you stack cut? If so, how many and how so?
Everything I cut, I stack cut. Everything's 1/4-inch Baltic birch ply. I've tried hot glue, tried painter's tape, tried double-sided tape, tried brad nails. The best thing I've actually come up with, I read once on one of the forums, was use the wooden toothpicks that you get at the dollar store, the round ones. Just drill a 1/8 hole in, 4 corners, pound those in, cut them off, work perfect.
That's a very dang good idea. And it happened on Scrolling with Charlie by John Cousins. Thank you. And before I get to you, Carrie, Gary Griffiths wrote in the Q&A section, Harbor Freight has good deals on brad nail guns as well as the pin nail, both of which can be gotten for under $30. In case that interests you, Mark Stallings, I believe you were talking about the cost of them. Mr. Kerry Lee, thank you, John, by the way, and Gary. Kerry, do you stack cut, and if so, how do you do it, and then that kind of stuff?
I stack cut quite a bit. I use a lot of Baltic birch. If it's 1/4-inch, I stack 3, and if it's 1/8-inch, I stack 5. And even on portraits, I use the painter's tape because I don't use spiral blades, so I tend not to get the fuzzies with scroll saw blade, with spiral blade. I found I had better control with the number 1 or a 0 blade than a spiral.
Okie dokie. I appreciate it, sir. Moving on, Mr. Bill Heitman, good to have you back. Do you stack cut? If so, how many, and how do you do it?
Basically, I use the blue painter's tape. I have Brad's guns. I just got into the habit of using the blue painter tape, and it seems to work well. I give out hugs at my craft shows, just the 3 letters. I think it's one of Rick's patterns. It probably increased my sales by 30–40% because you get them to stop. And I get a lot of weird looks from the guys when I say, "Hey, did you get a hug today?"
I appreciate it. Now, folks, please know I don't mean to bring the show down. For anybody that doesn't know, one of the members just talked about it because there's a member we've had on here before that when we talk about Harbor Freight, we like to tease him about his Harbor Freight scroll saw. And I made a comment on one of the past shows wondering where he was, and come to find out he passed away January 5th. Frank Tart. For anybody that didn't know that, I hope I didn't shock you too much, but I don't know any details. I just know it was a shock to us all. He was a very fun guy, a very funny guy, very helpful. Again, I don't know any details, and he passed away January 5th. So, informally, I'd like to dedicate this show to him. Terrible loss, as would be with any of y'all. Frank Tart, we love you and miss you, and there's no other Franks out there, trust me.
I'd like to interject one thing that I noticed when we were all talking about stack cutting, and me included, that I didn't say this in the beginning, and I don't know how many of you that do this. When I stack cut also, I put what I call a sacrificial piece on the bottom. If I'm doing like a couple of 1/4 inch pieces, which will be a 1/2 inch, I'll put an 1/8 inch on the bottom sacrificial piece. It can be of some cheap wood or whatever I have laying around. The reason being is because I have noticed by putting that sacrificial piece on the bottom and cutting, the bottom piece that I'm going to use has, number 1, a lot less fuzzies, and it turns out a little bit better. There's something about that sacrificial piece that helps in the process of cutting, makes the bottom piece turn out a lot better. So I noticed anybody didn't bring that up about that, so I just wanted to interject. But if I'm doing like 1/8 inch, 3 or 4 of them, the bottom piece will be the sacrificial piece. If I'm doing a couple of 2 or 3/4 inches, I'll put an 1/8 inch sacrificial piece on the bottom, and it actually makes a difference. I didn't do it for a long time, and I read somewhere or heard somewhere somebody say about doing it several years ago, and I tried it, and I was really impressed at the difference of the quality it made of that bottom piece.
I got a question. When it comes to sacrificial items, like, do you think cardstock would work instead of wasting a piece of 1/8 inch wood?
No, I experimented with a few things, and it really needs to be around here. We can buy, or I'm sure you can too, Mark. Cheap Luan plywood that you can get at Home Depot.
Yeah.
And I found using that, I'll buy a sheet of it and bring it home, chop it up in 2 foot by 4 foot pieces, and keep it around where I can just real quick cut a piece. And it's really cheap, inexpensive, and I use that as my sacrificial piece. The few times I've tried cardboard or other things, and yes, I did experiment with it, it didn't work. Fuzzies were there, it didn't help at all. It needs to be some kind of wood, but it does assist and it does help on that bottom piece.
Okay. Are you using spiral blades?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Are you using spiral blades or?
No, I was actually using the reverse tooth blades, but I still had a problem with that bottom piece. not so much fuzzies, but just the bottom piece was almost like the sacrificial piece. It didn't turn out very good on some of my cuts, so therefore I added the extra sacrificial piece, and boom, the bottom piece turned out beautiful.
Okay. Go ahead, Rick.
I never have used the sacrificial piece on the bottom. I just use the reverse tooth blades, but then I don't use the spiral blades either. Maybe Russ has got his mouth to the left side of his tongue to the left side of his mouth. Move it over to the right side, and then it might work.
Another thing that I seen, not so much the fuzzies, was the just for some reason the bottom piece would always just, if I would match it up against the other ones, you could tell that there was a problem on the bottom piece, and so therefore rather than wasting the bottom piece, I would use the sacrificial piece, and I didn't have any problems. You're right. Maybe I didn't have my mouth on the right side of my face that day, but it happened more than once, so I can say that my mouth might not have been there a lot of times.
That or the whole Charlie Brown tongue thing while you're doing something. I totally forgot what I was going to say because I tried to make a stupid joke. Crap. Oh, when I was talking about potential problems with stack cutting, and this is mainly for new people because seasoned people probably already know this, and there again we have 18 viewers. Again, if you don't know how to ask questions, go into the upper right of your screen where you're viewing, look for the thing that looks like a Rubik's Cube, click on that and it'll allow you to do Q&A. But one problem you run into, and this is usually if you stack more than about 2 1/4 inch. It can happen, it's most common. Okay. I don't have a stack of wood in front of me, but let's say these 3 fingers are a stack of wood and this is a blade. If you are cutting too fast, that blade can flex. I'm trying to get my other knuckles out of the way. If that blade flexes, as you can see, it's not cutting in the same spot in the middle as it is on the top. So in other words, I hope that makes sense visually, but it'll look like it's going normal on the top one, but if you're cutting it too fast, it will flex that blade more so on spirals, I will admit. But because of that, you got the cupping, and I call it barreling. But that will, when you pull the stack apart, you'll notice the difference. Well, why does this look different? You know, I've had pieces because of rushing myself that I completely broke through a wall of an area I didn't mean to because it looked good on the top. Sometimes even the bottom one will screw up because that's where all the pressure is because it's down on the table. But I just wanted to throw that in there for troubleshooting. There again, viewers, feel free to throw in any comments or questions.
And you're right, Charles. That might have been some of the problems I was having too, with it maybe pushing a little too fast. But like I said, the sacrificial piece works for me. Take from all things the things that you can use.
Absolutely, and I know Rick has talked about how he likes to cut aggressively and quickly. So I imagine him not using spirals as a benefit in that case, because Rick, how often do you find yourself where you cupped a little too much, or do you, or will you admit to it?
That I cut too much, or that I'm too hard on blades? I figure a blade knife is 20 minutes.
Well, I mean, like the cupping. Have you ever had a difference?
Before. And usually I attribute that to not enough tension and dull blades.
Well, that's true. I always attribute it to cutting too fast, and if I'm stack cutting something 3 or more, then I make it a point to go real slow because I know it's gonna cup on me, especially with spiral blades. I don't know anything about straight blades. And by the way, Mark Stallings, asking the international show, you may have even seen this or heard about it because you were a viewer of the morning show, the international show. I've now had the 4th person when I was asking what tutorials you want to see. that they want to see me do a dang video with a straight blade, and I'm telling y'all, I think Russ is going to send me some straight blades, but if y'all are going to make me embarrass myself, somebody's paying for those blades. Oh, God. I hope I don't make a complete and total fool out of myself. Please, no comebacks on that one. We're going to go ahead and jump into some tutorials. Russ, are you set up for yours? If not, I can jump into mine right quick. It's completely up to you.
Yeah, I can do mine.
Okay, Russ is going to show us all, and I think y'all may be excited about this if you have access to the program. He's going to show you. You see how I've got the wording above me, and he has all the fancy glitz above his. He's going to show us how he does that, and that's done with a transparent background, and that's done in Corel Draw X5, other versions of Corel, and it might be able to be done in Inkscape. He just has to investigate on that. But in the interest of going to the Q&A section, Alan Carter says, when I stack cut, I use Painter's Tape, and it usually works really good. Thank you very much, Alan. Again, Russ is going to look into Inkscape and see if that's possible. Basically, it's a PNG, Portable Network Graphics, I believe is what that stands for, and it has a transparent background, but Russ will tell you more.
Well, first off, I'm doing this under duress. I did not want to divulge my secrets to everybody, but Charles just told me he's going to throw me off as a co-host. He wasn't going to talk to me anymore after all this duress, and I finally decided I would show y'all how to do it. Now, I'm just teasing.
Well, I'm embarrassed because you just submitted that you're wearing a dress.
I'm just teasing. But
I'm doing this under a duress. Okay, go ahead.
I said duress, not a.
I know, I was just trying to be funny. It didn't work once again. Go ahead, Russell. I'll just shut up.
So, you made me lose my train of thought. Thank you.
Careful, Charlie may try looking up at duress.
So anyway, I'm not going to go into the technicalities on the actual designing of the letters and designing of this or that or the other. Basically, I'm going to do just a basic of what the screen size needs to be, and then how you can place certain things. So Charles has got me clicked on the presenting to everyone. Let's go over here to entire screen.
In other words, what he's saying, he doesn't want to give away all of his secrets. That's why he's only giving us part of it.
Yeah, I'm not going to give away all my secrets. All right, can you see the screen, Charles?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay, so we're going to back out here a little bit.
For the people on the panel that want to view it up close, if it's not showing large to you, just click on his thumbnail.
Okay, so basically what we're going to do, we're going to come over here and grab our rectangle tool, and we're going to draw a rectangle out on the screen. Come up here and check select our pick tool. I want to unlock the ratio so I can change this, and I need to make the width 888.9. And the height 5.
If anybody has any questions while he's doing this, it's okay to ask. Just make sure you say who you are as you unmute yourself, so I'll know who to put the camera on. Or actually, I don't even need to put the camera on. Just let me know if you have a question. And same with the viewers. Throw your questions and comments in the section, the Q&A section, and I'll pass them on to Russ. Sorry, Russ, go ahead.
All right, so make a correction already. That's 8.889 by 5.0. As soon as I hit the 88 and seen that long thing, I was like, wow. Now, we could change our page aspect if we want to, show as landscape rather than portrait, but that really doesn't matter. The 8.889 by 5.0, this is actually the screen size, and this is the square that or the rectangle I'm using is just for reference of what the Google Hangout screen would be. This little bus silhouette basically is going to represent where you are in the screen. We're not going to use it. I'm going to delete it later, but just so you can get an idea of what we're looking at. And then if you'll remember, down at the bottom is the video feed for where all the participants are right across here. So this is basically what we're looking at as the screen. Now you can add to this. You can come over here and put your name in. Select your pick tool. You can arrange this. You want to keep this at the top. Once again, at the bottom is the video feed for everybody participating, so we'll keep this at the top. You can make it pretty much any size that you want. You can make the different, you can change it to whatever font you want. Cooper Black. And let your creative juices flow as to how you want to design the font or the text style, where you want to arc it or whatever you want to do. Also, you can import bitmaps into the screen. This happens to be my logo. Once again, make sure that you resize it appropriately for the screen size.
Russell, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I believe Carrie Lee has a comment or question.
What is that? Yeah, this is Terry again. What is that font you're using for Simply?
The Simply Wooden Creations?
Yeah, the font for Simply.
Simply.
I have no idea. I created this logo probably about 7 or 8 years ago, and I would have to go back and look it up. I have no idea what it is at this point.
Okay, thanks, Russell.
Yeah. Yeah, I created this when I first decided I was going to do Simply Wood. That was going to be my name of my shop, is Simply Wooden Creations. I created this, so I'd have to go back through the files and find the original. This is actually a bitmap, not a vector graphic. I keep on having problems the way I'm creating this, so if you have problems too with this square, you can click on it, then right-click and tell it to lock. Lock object, and then you won't have problems, and you can click over here and move things around. If not, you might have some problems every time you try to click like I was doing it. Then we can come in here and put our logo. If you want to add, if you want to develop something or create something in Corel Draw, a vector graphic of your own, you can place that on the screen. It's basically, the sky's the limit as to whatever you want to create and whatever you want to put in here.
And part of the key of what he's doing is the sizing of it, because if you don't pay attention to the size, it will overflow your screen, and that looks like crap. But sorry, Russ, go ahead.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like I said, you're going to be sitting here in the middle of the screen, which I am right now, and this stuff is all sitting at the top of me. So you just want to play around with it, make one or two and try it. That's what I did for a few times, but basically that's all you have to do. And then once you have this created, you unlock the object. The rectangle that I created is basically for a reference. It has two things. It references as to the size of the screen, but when I go to save this, and which I'm fixing to show you, it also saves it along with the other objects and part of the background to create the transparent PNG. And what I usually do is come over here and right-click and just make the line of the box clear or invisible, so you don't see it anymore, and so it doesn't show up on the Hangout. Then you just want to simply left-click your arrow key, drag it across, which will select your box. The line is transparent, and then all the objects inside. And you want to come up here to File, Export, and this is going to tell you we want to make sure the Save As Type is a PNG, Portable Network Graphics. You can name this whatever you want to name it. And you can put it into whatever directory you want to put it in. You just choose the directory, click Export. That already existed, obviously, so let me change that. Change it to Hangouts 1. Click Export. Now, give the computer a second to render this. The next part is very important. Up here, you will see transparency. You want, notice that the background at this point is white. You want to click the transparency. And let me back step just one thing for real quick. I forgot to delete the little silhouette. We'll do that real quick. Go through it again. I forgot to delete my little man silhouette because we don't want him there.
Well, it might cover you up. Some people might appreciate that. Come on, Mark. That was funny. Come on.
Yeah. All right. So that was just for reference. I was trying to use that to show where you're going to be placed on the screen. So once again, we drag this across. File. Export. I'll leave that as untitled. Make sure it's save as type PNG. Export once again. Notice we have the white background. Make sure you click this transparency. So now all the little checker boards are still there, but that's just telling you that it is transparent at this time. So I only have 3 things that are actually going to be saved, and you just simply click OK. And so wherever you want to put that file at this time, whether it be on your desktop, in your documents folder, wherever you put it, it'll be there.
Russ, as an example, when you get done doing this, are you willing to temporarily show it on your Hangout picture? That way people can see it right after you made it?
Oh, yeah, I can. Sure, I'll do it. I'm having a little issues. I'm not making excuses. I'm using Corel Draw X5, and I'm using, this is a new laptop that I just purchased here a few weeks ago, and this is Windows 8.1, and I'm having some issues with, and I read there are issues with X5 and Windows 8.1. So we're going to try this. Sometimes it will save the file, and sometimes it takes me 3 or 4 times. I just told Charles today I ordered a Corel Draw X, what is it, 7, I believe it is, one of the newer ones.
Yes, sir.
I ordered it Friday, so it should. With this, we'll go back to export.
Russ, you were cut off a little bit when you first started talking, at least on my end. You want to repeat that last sentence?
But this was about the issues with the Corel, and I have ordered X7, so that hopefully that'll solve some of my issues. So we go back and grab all this once again. File, export. I'm going to put this on my desktop. I'll change the name to Hang. And then use it as, we'll just use 111 so I can identify it. Click Export. Make sure we click Transparency. Tell it OK. Now we have to find the little bugger.
If your desktop looked anything like mine, it would take you much longer.
It's not as bad as yours, but I don't see it. This is one of the problems that I've been having with dealing with X5 and Windows 8.1. That sometimes it'll save it and sometimes it won't. It's not a it's just an incompatibility between the two.
Maybe go to the Start Search feature.
No, it won't save it, period. I've searched the whole computer before when it does this, and it doesn't exist. It didn't create it. Let's try it again.
Well, that's not good.
No, so I don't know that I'm going to... We'll leave it as untitled PNG. See if that'll show up.
Well, that was just a small request to mine. I guess it's not mandatory to, because people can see the example above me and above you when you're on cam, so...
Yeah, I'll try it again. I'll save it as a... Let's try this again.
Donna Presley says bottom 4th row.
I haven't got my... Oh, it came through this time. There it is.
Yay.
Yep, they did come through this time.
Thank you, Donna.
There it is. Yep, there it is. I didn't see it the first time. And I swear I looked at that little blue guy right there, so. Okay, now we're going to go back to your Hangouts.
There he is.
There I am.
Now, for anybody on the panel, this is how you would do it inside of here. You go to your Hangout toolbox, and he'll tell you from there.
Can you still see my screen, Charlie?
I see you.
Okay. Tell me if you see all this. Go to... I can't do it. The video is running in an app. It's moderated, so it's not going to let me open up my toolbox to do it.
Okay, well...
But basically, what you would do is open up your control room over here. Or is it the toolbox?
If you don't mind, I'll tell everybody from here.
Nope. I clicked the wrong one. It was the control room. You open up the Hangout toolbox. Here we go. Open up this Hangout toolbox. Come over here. Click on your little circle with your silhouette of a bust in here. And it will, if you're over here, this is audio. You're going to choose the logo. I'm going to come down here and find my untitled one PNG that I just created, if everybody can see that. I'll hit open. And I don't know if it changed it or not. I can't tell.
No, not yet. Yes, it did. Well, it went blank that I can see.
I guess I'm having issues with it because we're online.
As you told me earlier, here's a tissue for your issue.
We'll try it again, but that's basically how you do it. You come here and click on it, hit open. Pop, there we go.
That's your old one that I think I can't see the whole screen for some reason.
Yeah, it keeps it's not coming through. There it goes.
There it goes. There it goes.
There it goes.
And ladies and gentlemen, it happened on live show.
Yep. So there you see the one I just created right above me. So that's how you can create it. The sky's the limit. I'm not going to go into a lot of details on how I did my name and everything. That's for you to figure out on your own. I can't divulge all my secrets. I mean,
you just mean y'all can say it. I'll team up against them. On a personal note, this has nothing to do with scroll sawing, but I think it's funny because whenever the main screen person is talking and all the thumbnails, sometimes they freeze up. And I've caught Mark Sherman and Bill Heitman both yawning, and it freezes up, and they're frozen in a yawn pose, and it just looks it's comical to see. Mark Sherman is clear now, but Bill Heitman still has a big old yawn on his face and on my thumbnail. But going back, thank you, Russ, for that, by the way. Going back to the whole barreling thing I was talking about, we had a guy, and I want you to check out his channel if you get a chance. eCabinets Tips and Tricks. He has a free program for, it's like SketchUp, but it's for, I could be way off even saying that, but it's for building cabinets from scratch. But his name is Scott, I believe, and he said, this is not a question, but I can say from experience in CNC routers that what we were experiencing when we call it barreling. Just a second, Lee, I'll get to that. What we call barreling with CNC routers is called deflection, which is caused either from the cutter running too fast or the cutter being dull, or both. And Russ Lee was wanting to know the size of the screen thing he used. Thank you, Scott, by the way.
Know the size of what the Hangout thing I just created?
Yeah, okay. Somebody just answered, John. Thank you. 8.889 by 5.
Yeah, it's 8.889 by 5.
Alrighty, thank you.
Don't ask me why that size is. It's just the size that works. I'm not going to tell you how I found out. If I told you, I'd have to shoot you.
Y'all
But
heard that live on air.
I did find out what the size it was, and I think Rick had asked me, and a couple others had asked me, and this is the computer I'm using right now is my new laptop. My other one was giving me problems, and actually I thought it was going to crap out on me, so I bought this new laptop, and actually the problem, I think, when the old laptop was a problem with some driver issues or Windows or whatever, but I set it back to the factory settings, and lo and behold, it's working perfectly now. But all that stuff was on my old laptop, and I hadn't transferred it over yet. It was still on my portable hard drive. But I know Rick had asked me, and several others. I think Mark he had asked me about doing that, and Charles had bugged me about doing it, and I'm like, well, I hate to tell everybody, but I think we're all one big happy family here, so that's your Christmas present that I forgot to give you.
Well, thank you. One bit dysfunctional family anyway. Lee said he wanted to know because he's going to try to do it in GIMP, which is another free program for anybody wanting to experiment with GIMP or Inkscape. Inkscape, Inkscape.org and GIMP.org. And Russ is going to be trying to do it in Inkscape whenever we're not on the air. So because of Inkscape being free and people have better access to that, he's going to try to do a version of that.
I have no doubt that you can create it in Inkscape or in GIMP or Photoshop even. There's no doubt in my mind that you can do that. If you will give me 1 second, I'm going to mute and put my camera off, and I'm going to find out my little notes real quick in a file I'll have, and I can actually give you the size of that transparent PNG instead of the 8.889 by 5. I'll actually give you the size of it in pixels. So just give me a second, and I'll come back to you.
Yeah, Paul, thank you, sir. In the interest
Hey, Charlie?
of who called me?
It's Mark.
Mark Stallings. Yes, sir.
Is there any way of putting those up on the Hangout without being in a Hangout?
You mean if you're in a room by yourself, or a non-recorded version?
Would you have to go in and do it, is there a file that you can go to save that, or do you have to open up a Hangout just for yourself to get into it?
It is a saved file, but I'm not sure how you mean it other than in a Hangout. I'm about to sneeze, so bear with me if I suddenly go black. I've never tried it outside of one of these Hangouts, so I truly don't know, but it can be saved. If you open your Hangout toolbox, it's one of the options is to save it as something. It's not a good time for us not to be here because I'm so about to sneeze. Okay, in the thank you, Mark. In the Q&A section, we have CJC and a bunch of numbers saying, newbie spiral blade question. I have noticed that they all seem to be twisted. Yeah, and they have a hard time getting them installed. They are Olsen blades. I use a Craftsman 16-inch scroll saw. The cheap Craftsman blades don't behave this way. Has anyone else seen this? I've seen it because the spiral blades are generally twisted all the way up, so you have to kind of untwist part of it to fit firmly in the clamp. I assume that's the issue you're referring to. Has anybody else found a fix for that? If you have, just unmute yourself, say who you are, and I will put the camera on you. Alrighty then.
I'm back.
Hi, back.
Okay.
I'm about to sneeze, so I'm going to mute.
Anybody want to answer? Yeah, Charles is sneezing. So to answer Mark's question about Mark, every time that you cannot save it into Google so that it can be used every time, at least I've tried saving it, and it doesn't work for me. I have to upload it every time I start the Google Hangouts. So I keep it on my desktop so I can find it real easy and just go over there and tell it I want a custom overlay and where it's at, and then if you'll notice when you go over to that little box that I showed you where it says custom overlay, you have to move that little thing to say on over there. When you turn that on, then boop, it pops up over the top of your head. But I haven't found a way to have it up there every time, and I've worked on that, and I was like, wow, every time I've had to open it, every time we do Google Hangouts, I have to open that and put it back up there. The other thing, for those of you who wanted to try to make it into GIMP or Photoshop, the dimensions are 640 by 360. That's in pixels, 640 by 360. That's instead of that 8.889 by 5. I created it in Corel because I like using Corel. I'm more and more leaning on Corel to do things. So that's the reason I found out the dimensions for 8.889 by 5. But
okay, Lee, hold off on doing that because I want to have the camera on you when you do it. But I wanted to get to the Q&A section real quick about this spiral blade question. Donna Presley recommends using the flat-ended spirals for my workshop, and yes, they are Flying Dutchman brand, which is actually Nequa out of Germany. For anybody that can't access Flying Dutchman blades, the actual NIQUA is the manufacturer. Flying Dutchman is Mike Morlock's name for the blades. And Rick tried it, it looks like, but it showed up in the middle of his screen, so I think the placement is the only issue he's having, and the transparency.
Yeah, you have to create that little rectangle that the 8.889 by 5, and keep the black outline. Use that as a reference for placement of your logo and your name and everything at the top of the page, and then change that square to clear, and then drag around it and save it. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
It's all good. I'm going to run over to Lee Knight, and he tried it in GIMP, and we're going to see if it works. But Lee, you have to make sure that all your other options are slid over to the word off. So sometimes if you have trouble getting one to show up, it's because you have another one open already. Like right now you're using what they call the lower third, so you have to turn that off in order to get the other one in there. And that might have been the issue you had, Russ, because you have to turn one off to do the other, or if you make a change, you have to turn it off to make that change and then bring it back on.
Yes, you're exactly right. I don't know. I don't think I did that. After you said that, I think I didn't turn it off and then upload it and then turn it back on. I think I was trying to upload it while this one was still on. Nothing ever works great live, trust me.
Now, Lee, you're welcome to unmute yourself if you have any questions while you're doing this, because I noticed your lower third is still on. It's in the Hangout toolbox.
Yeah, I haven't made it yet, so I'm still trying.
Oh, you're still making it. Okay.
Yep, still playing with it.
So let's come up with a fun topic while he's doing that before I get into my little talk about floaters and how you can keep them. I know that's like what's the word? Unpopular in scrolling. Floaters are supposed to be bad things, but it can add to realism. Actually, Lee, if you don't mind, I'm just going to go right into that, by golly. And we will come back to you regarding that. And again, viewers, we have 19 viewers. Look in your screen at your viewing area. Look for the thing that looks like a little Rubik's Cube. It's probably right about in here. That'd be cool if I was pointing right at it. But anyway, looks like the side of a Rubik's Cube, a bunch of little squares. Click on that to put Q's and A's in. Speaking of that, Paul Keem just wrote, more of a comment than a question. Russ talked about using a sacrificial board on a stack cut. I think this would help because it stabilizes the blade a little and gets rid of some of the blade drift by letting the blade straighten out going in straight. I respectfully slightly disagree because I think letting the blade do the cutting versus pushing will let the blade straighten out. But I do see your point, but I'll let Russ respond to that.
Basically, that's what I was saying. Now, you can't push. Yeah, you're right, exactly. Even if you push with a flat blade, you can get some arcing with it if you push really hard or whatever. Tension's critical, like Rick said, but I don't know. I tried with several different ways without the sacrificial piece, with the sacrificial piece, with scroll reverse blades. And to me, I had a better result every time using that sacrificial piece on the bottom.
Alright, thank you, Russ, and thank you, sir, for the comment. Now, the times that you want to use a floater for realism, 9 times out of 10, it'll be either the light in the eye or the whites of the eye, depending on how the pattern is set up. And I'm going to attempt to screen share and show you a video. I'm not going to show you the audio of it because it will drag a little bit. But this is an example of a floater. This is a skull, just a drawn out skull. And now, since I don't have the audio up, yes I do, I'm going to turn it down. There may be some slow areas where I got to fill in babbling, which I'm not known for, to get to the point where it is in the video, because I don't remember right where I said what in the video. But anyway, I'm going to hit play. The dark areas I colored in to show you what's being cut out. Now, I paused it. You'll notice the nose, the nose hole, nose cavity, and the shadow under the eye. Those aren't floaters. Those are meant to be cut out. But we want to keep that ring, which is a white. I can't remember what the technical name. That's the iris, I know. That's just a pilot hole. But we're going to be cutting out this waist area that I colored in with ink to let everybody know what I was getting rid of. And we're going to be cutting this out. We're keeping this white ring here. And by keeping watching, you will see that if you want to keep a floater like that for the realism, that this is how you do it. And by putting 2 and 2 together, I'm about to cut it out. And yes, I'm using spirals. Someday you'll see me try to do something stupid like this with a flat blade. Stop grinning, Mark. I don't even see you, but I have a feeling you are. Anyway, there are times, especially on, I've noticed a lot of U.S. flag patterns, people will make the stars dark to keep from having floaters. And to me that looks a little off. That's no disrespect meant to those designers. But that's another example of where if you save the waist piece that you're cutting around the area that you want to keep, then it acts like a puzzle. You just stick it in place with glue on it, but don't have glue on the areas that you're not keeping, like the areas that are shaded in on this video are not being kept, so those won't be glued to the backer. Only that white ring I'm going to eventually cut out. And for the sake of showing cutting with a spiral, I'll let it go ahead and play. I mean, it may bore somebody, but but unlike Rick Hutchison, I cut kind of slow. I have the saw on full speed, but I move kind of slow because I was on video, I didn't want to screw up. But one benefit you may have just seen when you see me move back and forth with the spiral blade is because if you get a little bitty bump, that spiral actually acts like a little bit mini sander to get rid of those little bumps. And I believe I'm getting ready to turn off the saw and go to the outer cut. Maybe I should speed this up a little bit. Bear with me. I think I'm just fixing those little bumps I just told you about. And I don't know what I'm saying there, so I'm going to move on. Now we're cutting out the eyeball, or the cavity around the eye orbit, dang it, whatever it's called. Speed up a little bit. Now, when you want to keep an area that's a floater, when you get ready to get done having that floater cut out, I don't know if I show it in the video or not because it's been a while since I made this video, but you want to have your finger on top of that floater to keep it from flying away, because if it flies away, you just lost your floater, which is, in my shop, it's not easy to find, trust me on this. I'm going to speed it up a little bit because you know what I'm doing here. Okay, and you'll see my finger most likely go over to that eyeball unless I was confident in the size of it not flying off the table. See, I hold it down. Hold it down to keep it, and right there I backed up because I was smoothing a bump because we're keeping that piece. The waist area doesn't matter how bumpy it is, but I'm wanting a perfect circle there. Now I don't actually glue it to a backer in this video, but I show you the premise of doing that. Now right there I'm just holding it up saying this is one you want to keep, blah blah blah. Right now I'm cutting out the rest of the waist area, which ordinarily you don't keep waist areas, but for the sake of doing it like a puzzle piece, yes, you do want to keep it. and that will hopefully explain itself if I haven't confused you already. Let's see, I just finished cutting that out. Now that's what a typical skull would look like, but if you want that eyeball in there, then I'm probably about to show you. I just don't know right when I do it. Come on, Charlie, speed it up. Okay, took the blade out. I hope y'all can appreciate and understand why. Perfect example was probably the flag, where sometimes floaters just add to realism. And sometimes when it comes to like the whites, where the light is reflecting off the iris of the eye, the dark part, the pupil. I keep calling it the iris, I meant the pupil. You can use a very small dot of white paint on the backer. It's completely up to you. But you see me placing, acting as if the table was the backer. You have the skull glued down to the backer. And then eventually, Charlie, there we go. We do not glue that piece down, we just set it in place. And then we put glue on the back of the white part of the eyeball we wanted to keep. And that's what I'm saying in the video right now, I assume. And remember, the table of the thing is acting as a backer for the sake of the video. You're gluing the skull, not gluing the scribbled in part, and you're gluing that eyeball. And that, folks, is how you, that's how you would keep a floater and how to place it. That helps on anything where you're having to align something perfectly. So I hope that made sense to everybody, and I think that was a relatively potentially good idea, because floaters have been, thank you, Russ, floaters have been looked down on for so long as a bad thing in scrolling, and I really, really, really think it can add to the realism of scroll sawing. If anybody would like to comment anyway, just unmute yourself and say your name so I'll know who to put the camera on. Mark Sherman wanted to know, what program am I using? Well, I do my patterns on paper, but I use Paint Shop Pro to clean them up. Paint Shop Pro 4, I need to upgrade, Russ told me, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. By the way, Mark Sherman has the Google Hangout transparent thing going on. This probably all went on while I was doing my tutorial, so I know who was paying attention. Okay.
Mark Sherman, unmute yourself if Charlie don't mind. I hate to interrupt, but what'd you create that in?
I use X6 for Corel Draw.
Okay, and you were able to do it the way I told you how to do it?
I sure can, yeah, exactly the same steps.
Okay.
Good deal.
So
yeah, definitely make sure that you have all your settings shut off before you try to upload it. Just like you said earlier, that's definitely a work getting.
That's where I made my mistake. I was trying to be in a hurry. Like, you never can do it live, and it worked perfect the first time. Trust me. But I'm glad that worked for you. That's. I was going to make one comment about what you were talking about, the floaters, Charles. Yeah, I mean, it's floaters almost seem like when you say something about or make a pattern, sometimes people automatically, it's like a taboo. Ooh, you've got floaters in it. But I've created over the years patterns and purposely left them as floaters, almost identically to what you're talking about in that video, and just glued them back in. If you're using a backer for a project, there is nothing in the world wrong with using the floaters, cutting them out and gluing them back in. I mean, it makes the piece look a lot more better than coming in like a stencil fonts. I mean, stencil fonts are great, don't get me wrong, but I hate seeing stencil fonts on a scroll saw project. To me, it just takes away from the beauty of the what you're trying to create.
Oh yeah, I don't mean to interrupt you, Russ. John, and I know in Corel X7, the reason why the only way to save it as a PNG is to export it, not file save as. So you may want to try that. File export, and then the PNG option should be in there.
Yeah, I'm using X5, and there's a big difference between my X5 and even Mark's X6, and then Charles has got the X7. So I'm upgrading. I've just had too many quirks with X5 and 8.1. I loved X5. Don't get me wrong. It's done me very well. Done anything I wanted to do with making patterns since I've had it, but I've been having problems just like that issue when I tried to save that a minute ago. It wouldn't save. It's done that before with me. I've had some little quirks here and there. Remember a couple of weeks ago I said something about you could use that what the font to figure out what font you were using. It will not work. What the font? It will not work on my laptop with Windows 8.1. I cannot get it to work. I can make it work on my old laptop with Windows 7 and X5, but it will not work on 8.1. So I finally broke down Friday and ordered X7.
Alrighty, Lee, no, we cannot see you. Lee is having camera issues. But in the future, Lee, Mark, and John, or anybody that has a comment about a topic we're discussing, you're welcome to unmute yourself. The only reason I ask you to tell me who you are is because we got a room full, and I need to know who to put the camera on, and sometimes all your voices sound the same. Well, then again, Mark can kind of dig into that part of your brain. It's like nightmares, but love you, Mark.
If we're going to talk funny now.
One more.
Go ahead, Russ. Hey, thanks talking funny, but go on with it.
One more thing to interject real quick is I am going to also this week try to do that same thing in Inkscape for those who have Inkscape and recreate making that same background. And I probably will wait until next Saturday and put that on the show for those of you using Inkscape. And I may even try to, I'm very proficient in Photoshop, but I may even try to download GIMP and experiment with it in GIMP and put that up also for those of you who use GIMP. Not down in GIMP. GIMP's a wonderful program. I have used it in the past. I like GIMP. Photoshop has just got all the bells and whistles that GIMP doesn't have.
And Russ likes them bells and whistles.
I sure do.
I can't whistle real good, or I would have done a stupid sound effect, but we have 18 viewers, so I really hate to close the show. Does anybody have anything they want to talk about, or any tutorials you'd like to see in the future regarding Inkscape or Corel Draw? And if you do, just unmute yourself, say your name, and by God, go at it. We have 18 viewers, so there again, I guess I can put the camera on myself since I'm talking. If you don't know how to use the Q&A section, there's a little Rubik's Cube thing up in this area on your screen, not mine. That's just a window pane on a door. Anyway, you click on that to get to the Q&A section. But does anybody on the panel have any requests for future tutorials, whether it be Corel Draw, pattern making, anything to do with scrolling, or Hangouts or anything? I hate it when I ask y'all something and nobody's got nothing. I'll just sit here and talk funny, Mark. Come on now.
The room gets quiet when you ask. Nobody,
Well, there's all kinds of tutorials you could do on Corel Draw. I mean, I've got tons of them, and there's so much stuff you can do with it. It's hard to say what to do as a thing here without somebody asking a specific type of pattern or question.
Yeah, and I understand that. I know, as you know, obviously there's endless possibilities of tutorials, but the reason why we ask is if there's a specific tutorial they're wanting to see, we won't pass over it for not knowing that they wanted that kind of tutorial. Scott from eCabinets Tips and Tricks says, okay guys, I'm not an experienced scroller, but I will say that this is my experience from using a CNC router. Imagine that you were using a blade that is only supported from the top and not from the bottom, like a scroll blade, and you usually cut with. I guess he's referring to CNC versus scrolling. I'm not entirely sure I understood that. Okay, that's a very good one. And do y'all remember the guy Dustin Connors that was in here? Yeah. By the way, Mark, you could have unmuted yourself and shut me up, and I'll let you say what you just typed.
I'd like to see a tutorial on inlays.
And I know Dustin Connors on YouTube. He goes by Country Stroller on YouTube. He has some videos on that, but I imagine, unless I'm mistaken, Rick Hutchison may know how to do that, or anybody else on the panel. I don't know.
I've done inlays before. I don't really care for them. That I mean, if I have somebody that wants an inlay or requests an inlay or wants to pay for it, I'll do it.
I've never tried it, but Dustin Connors, country scroller on YouTube, he was the younger guy we had in the room once on one of these shows. Haven't seen him since, but he's a busy guy. Anyway, he makes it look so easy, and it is just a matter. I'm going to get to you in just a second, Rick, I promise. It's just a matter of beveling your table, getting the bevel correct according to the size blade you're using and the thickness of the wood you're using. But I'm going to move on over to Rick. Looked like he unmuted himself and wanted to say something.
Yeah, it's just tilting the table to get it to fall into the depth you want. You can actually have a raised inlay, or if you tilt the table a little bit straighter up and down, you get the inlay to drop in perfect into the space that you cut out. But you stack cut, basically, the piece you want to fall in on top and the piece you want to put in on the bottom. Just cut it at a bevel and they drop right in.
10-4, thank you, sir. Anybody that the audio sort of broke up for me, so if anybody didn't understand what he just said. Okay, I'm going to break a piece of wood here to show you. I did that all by myself, live on air, really strong. I used meat spinach. But anyway, let's say this is a light wood and this is a dark wood. You want this piece to fall, the piece you cut out of here, you want it to fall into this one. So that's why you bevel it. So it's beveled, or even straight up, almost straight up and down like you was just saying. But when you're doing the inlay on a scroll saw, the top piece is the piece you're wanting to keep, and the bottom piece is the one you're wanting to, that top piece to fall into, according to that bevel. And if I said that wrong, yeah, okay, he's nodding his head, so I actually said something correct for once, live on the air. Thank you for the thumbs up, Russ. Stevie Roger, he's an international feller. As a total novice, a tutorial on inlays would be great, so raise your hand if you would like to do an inlay tutorial if I can't get a hold of Dustin Connors. Well, then again, all the thumbnails are frozen, so just unmute yourself, say, I'll do an inlay. Okay, Rick Hutchison is shaking his head and raising his hand, so I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I can do a tutorial on the inlays. What do you want, just a little video and stuff of it?
Video, or if you have a way of setting up your webcam in front of a scroll saw, you could do it that way, or you could just do a video and turn off the volume and just narrate live while you're showing us. But I don't want to put you on the spot, but being that we have people that would like to see that, I'd love to see it because I love watching Dustin do it.
I think the best way to do it, Rick, is like Charles did. If you want to do a small video of it, and then have it all ready and just play it like Charles did. We worked on it today and discovered cut the volume off and just talk your way through it. It seemed like the volume drug real slow when you're playing it online like we're doing right now, but the video seemed to turn out pretty good. But I would like to see Rick do a tutorial for us.
I very much would too, and yeah, as you said, that's something we experimented with today. I think it's a neat idea. The drawback for me is those are videos I had already put out, and anybody subscribed to me is thinking, well, duh, I've already seen this. I didn't need to know this, but not everybody's seen all my videos because I'm not the most popular guy in the world. Rick Hutchison probably has more views than I do because he's been around since dirt. No offense, Rick. I just meant you've been in the scrolling community since I came in 97-ish. But Mark Sherman is about to lose his breath from laughing. But, yeah, I believe we may have to call 911. Anyway, my goofiness, I flat forgot what I was talking about. Inlays, Rick Hutchison. Rick is wanting to say something. He unmuted himself. I'm about to get shot.
I was glad to see Mark here last week. It was a fun conversation with him. I'd like to see more of the people in the chat stop by.
I had a good time.
Yeah, I meant to ask y'all about that because y'all had talked about it. I would love to have the money to just travel around and see all y'all. Russ is coming to see me in July, hopefully. He's trying to.
Yes, if everything works out, I'm going to swing by and visit Charles in July. My son is a Marine. He is out in California, and he ends his tour of duty in July, and he has bought a pickup truck out there, and I'm going to fly out there, and we're going to. I haven't got my family is very close. All of my children live within 5 miles of me.
And how many children do you have?
I have 7 children, and they have bought homes and property and live within 5 miles just so that we can be close. We have on Sundays we have what we call Sunday dinner, Sunday afternoon. All my children come to our house and we cook, and like they'll bring a dish or whatever, and we'll cook the main staple. We have Sunday dinner. We're always together. But so Corey has been a Marine. He's out in California, and we haven't been together for 4 years. And I'm going to fly out to California, and we're going to drive his pickup truck back to Florida and take a couple of weeks, and just him and I have some time together, make up for the 4 years.
If you got a pickup, you got to come through Texas. By God. Anyway,
we're going to stop by, and on my list, and I've already talked to him about it, and he wants to see the camera hog.
Oh, piddly poop. I knew Mark would enjoy that one. Todd Porter wrote.
Well, 7 kids. I'm just wondering, Russ, have you ever heard of television?
Yes.
You needed to find a different hobby.
See, Russ is only 23 years old. That's how he got the gray hair. Was 7 kids. But in the interest of including the Q&A section, Todd Porter says, "Hi guys, I have Corel Draw X5. When I try to print large pattern, I only get a small section of it. How can I print the full pattern? Unless I'm mistaken, and I know this is plugging my own channel, but go to this morning's international show, and somebody else may be able to answer this better than I can. Go to the international show that was filmed this morning, and I show how to stretch a picture across multiple pages, and that would come out as a PDF and exporting, the same as the PNG situation, I believe. You print it across to more than one page, and it saves it as a PDF, and when you print the PDF, it'll print each page. But if that's not how you meant it, reword it, or I will check with the panel and see if anybody else has.
The only thing that I can say in Corel Draw, I mean, I don't if it's in the center of the page, there's no reason. I don't understand why it's not printing. But Corel Draw will not print to the edge of the page. There is I would almost say a 1/4 of an inch on the page around the perimeter that will not print. If you take the pattern all the way to the edge of the page, it will not print. That last little bit, that last 1/4 of an inch. You have to. There's a way in Corel Draw to show the outline of where, the outline of where the printable area. There's a way to show that in Corel Draw, but that might be your problem if it's hanging off that little bit and you're missing some of it. That might be your problem. The shows, I don't think we have enough time to show that, but that could be something else I show in the future.
Well, if you'd like to show it, Russ, we have 15 viewers and a full panel. I don't mind personally, but I think Mark Sherman wants to say something real quick. But
only take a minute.
If you use print preview, it'll show you that little border that you can't print on.
Yeah, it's print preview. If you want, just take a real quick second. You want me to do it?
Yeah, go for it. Todd, if that's not how you meant the question, then reword it. But he didn't say that it was cutting off a part. He said it's only printing a small section. He specifies the word small section. So that's what makes me think it may not be a printable area issue. But for the sake of other viewers and people on the panel, you may want to try it.
Okay, can you see my screen again, Charles?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay, if you go up here to View and go down to Show and go over to Printable Area, now we'll have to change our page aspect back, but if you will notice, this little dotted line simulates the printable area, and Corel Draw will not print in this area to the edge of the page. So if I have...
Sorry, what button did you push to get to that?
To get to its View, we go down here to Show, Printable Area.
Okay, I think it's the same in Corel Draw X7 as why I was asking.
But if you... so if you have something over here and you bring it to the edge of the page and you think it's going to print, this last little section right in here will not print. It has to be on this side of the dotted line. Now you can also go to File, and I don't know if it's the same on X7, and go down to Print Preview. And yes, it did open up. Like I said, I'm having some quirks with X5 and my Windows 8 and it will bring up the preview and show you the page and where everything is located. And
now I don't know if it does it in the version you have, but when I try to save it, it will show me an area. It has a tab that says there are no issues or there are issues, and you click on that and it'll tell you something is hanging outside the printable area. Go ahead.
I think it will. We'll do this save. Let's say untitled CDR. Nope, it didn't do it on mine. So, but that's just
Lee Nyden, he got the transparent thing to work on his Hangout.
So I don't know why, and the question would have to be a little bit better explained as to what he's doing, as to why it's not printing. If it's on the page and in the printable area, it should print. I'm not sure what's happening.
All right, thank you. I don't mean to jump right out of you, but that sounded weird. Anyway, Scott from eCabinets Tips and Tricks says he would like to see some tutorials on seascape patterns. He mentioned that on the international show, and I'm trying to think of how we would set that up. But I know me nor Russ have a problem with, and I keep acting like me and Russ are the only ones that design. I know Rick Hutchison has done designs. I don't know if he does them out of his head or strictly the ones he got the copyrights on. I don't want to assume to know. I know Lee Knighton makes patterns. So, Lee, did you want to? I don't know. We all three probably had 3 different methods, so we could all work on a seascape and show people, I guess. I guess he means like, the waves crashing up against the shore or something. Scott, if you could be a little more specific, it might help us in choosing a photo to work from. If you can be more specific of a seascape. I know what seascape means, but Scott, if you don't mind giving a more specific seascape idea, then all 3 of us and any other designers on the panel can work on that. Lee, did you want to say something, sir?
No, I was just agreeing with you.
Okay, 10-4. Okay, we still have 16 viewers. I hate cutting the show off when we have so many viewers, because I could do this for 10 hours. I know not all of us can. Somebody just dropped out. I don't know who it was, but 15 viewers now. The only reason I'm not just saying we're going to go is because if there's any questions or comments, because we have such a full room and so many viewers, if there's any questions you have, then please feel free to ask that. Russ, if you'll talk for a couple seconds, I got something I need to do real quick.
No problem.
Make it up. And Lee is asking if Scott wants to see a lighthouse. There again, I'm waiting on Scott to come up with something.
You said you had something to do, so go do it.
I am doing it.
Oh, okay. I got a question for Lee Nyden. How long have you been? I've heard it before, but on the panel it's hard for me to remember. But how long have you been scrolling? And I know you do some pattern designing and cutting and everything. But how long have you been involved in scrolling anything? And how long have you been on YouTube also?
I haven't been on YouTube very long. Not much there. Meaning looking around there. Time gets away from me, so I don't always get a chance to put the photos up. But I have been designing for a while now. I've been actually scrolling since I was about 10 years old. So it's been about 14 maybe 15 years that I've been doing scrolling. So that's my backstory is that my dad had a shop and he taught me how to use the soft kind of sort of. He said, don't do this, do this. From there. So the rest is history.
Now, do you put your patterns up for sale? Do you, or do you just design for yourself?
I have, as Charles said the last show, I do have a book on Lulu, which is beautiful patterns, but I'm working on the second one, which is going to be a little bit better quality patterns than that one, just not ready yet. And then, I do have a website where I have stuff up for sale as well.
Does anybody else have trouble hearing Lee, or is it only me?
No, it's a little hard to. I can hear him, but it's a little hard to hear. He needs to.
Yeah, I have him all the way up, and I never seem to be able to hear him well. By the way, Todd Porter, the one that was asking about when you were talking about the printable area, he said the pattern is 20 inches high by 24 inches wide. When I go to print it out, it'll only print out one sheet, and I'm thinking that could be an issue with the printer settings.
No, he said the pattern is 20 inches. Read that again.
By 24 inches.
Yeah, but it will only print 8.5 by 11.
Yeah, so there again, I guess, unless we're not comprehending it right.
It's not going to print the whole pattern. You're only going to get the center of the pattern, which is 8.5 by 11, which is actually minus 1/4 of an inch of that, so it'd only be 8 1/4 by 11, or 10 3/4 that he's going to get to print. That's going to have to be split across multiple pages. It's not going to print the whole pattern. It's not a fault in Corel Draw. It's just he has to understand that the pattern is bigger than the sheet of paper that he's trying to print it on.
Well, John Cousins was just saying multi-page print. Is that an option in Corel Draw?
I haven't seen a multi-page print option in Corel Draw, and if it's there, I'm going to kick myself in the butt because I've been doing it a lot harder the way. I know you can split it across PDFs, but anytime I've ever done it, I've had to actually put it across the pages. I've not seen any way of doing it.
John, did you have a response to that?
Okay, under print, go to layout. Fit to.
Is this in Corel Draw or on your printer settings?
In Corel Draw, in Corel Draw under the printer settings, go to the print preview, go to layout, print tiled pages, and then you can select however many pages you want to go up or down, and that way your entire pattern will print on the multiple pages with registration marks on the edges.
I did not know that. Thank you, John.
I had just finished printing off a pattern of 24 by 20 inch, and it comes off on 8 pages.
Okay, go through that again because I have my Corel Draw open X5. So I go to File.
Okay, go to File, go to Print.
Right.
Okay, go to Layout.
Yes.
Print tiled pages.
Okay.
Okay, leave your scale factor at 100, and your number of tiles. You got your vertical and your horizontal settings there. If you just adjust that, it'll show you on your preview where it's going to show up and however many pages it's going to be. And then just hit print.
And it will print across the multiple pages.
Yep.
How freaking cool is that?
Well, you just showed me something, and I've been using Corel Draw X5 for I don't know how many years, and I never knew it would do that.
And you can also do a print. You can also do a print preview to see how that's going to look. Then make sure you got it centered on your page. Right?
Yeah, initially Mark had guessed, Mark Sherman had guessed fit the page, but if you're wanting the pattern to be bigger than the page, then that's where all that comes in.
Just know it all. John comes along and shows you something new.
See, we thought Russ knew it all, and I might have to replace my co-host.
No, I mean, in all sincerity, I've used Corel Draw, and I've never saw that function. I've seen it in when I've created an Adobe with PDFs and other things like that, but I have never noticed that in Corel Draw that function that it could split it across. That's a big thumbs up. Thank you, John. And
yeah, no problem.
I appreciate it. Hey, I learn something every day. I scan through YouTube on a daily basis looking at some of the people's their woodworking videos, and I've just started creating my own, but I scan through them, and I learn something new every day looking at what other people do and how they do it. The computer and YouTube is, to me has been a fantastic learning tool.
Well, I think where me and Russ have both screwed up, and it might be an assumption thing on the whole panel and viewers, is I think the panel may assume that only me and Russ are allowed to show people how to do things. So if there's anybody on the panel that ever wants to teach viewers and other panel members how to do anything, contact me behind the scenes and we can set that up. And I know Lee is nodding his head, and I figured he'd be one of the first people that wanted to do that. And I know he plays with GIMP a lot.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, come on, just like John right there. I mean, I've been using Corel Draw for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years and never explored or never found that out.
You're just stuck in your way, stranger. In the Q&A section, we have from Dan.
And by the way, don't let John on next week.
He's just younger and purtier than you are. Dan Engelbretson, I got it right that time, I think. Says, I just wanted to say that after watching y'all, I've made a couple of things with my piece of junk Harbor Freight scroll saw. I made 4 shelf brackets that actually didn't bust like my first 3 projects, and I made a disc golf basket. Thanks for the confidence. Thank you very much, Dan. We still have 14 viewers. Is there anybody that has a question, comment, or request for future shows? Anybody on the panel, anything? If not, then I will go ahead and close the show. But for anybody viewing, or just jump from 14 to 16, anybody viewing, if we do end the show, we have to eventually, the room will stay open, but it will no longer be recorded. But right now it's still being recorded, so don't say anything stupid. You can say it's stupid like I do, according to Mark. He thinks we all talk funny here in Texas. But y'all are all welcome to unmute yourselves. Does anybody have any requests or comments or blah blah blah? Alrighty then. And I would personally like to thank all the viewers and panel members for being on for season 1, episode 9 of Scrolling with Charlie. And all humor aside, you're welcome, Stevie Roger. He says thank you. All humor aside, I'd like to dedicate this show again to Frank Tart. And I don't know if that's presenting to everybody, but I want it to be correct. And
it is.
Okay, let me go back to it. I'm going to end the show. Where the heck did it go? Oh, there. Thank y'all very much for being a participant, and I know those of you that believe know that Frank can hear us right now. So Frank, thanks for being you. I don't have the words. I really don't. Great guy. Just a horrific loss, and my condolences to his friends and family. But without the humor this time, on behalf of Frank and everybody, let's just, sorry if that was a downer. I just, it's hard to leave it, but above all else, have fun with what you're doing. Feel free to throw questions and comments forward, and thank everybody for watching, and we will see you next time, but in the meantime, scroll on.